So thank you all for taking time out of your days and settling in with us for the next hour and a bit. My name is Kate Frankfurt. I'm the Chief Philanthropy Officer for the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. And on behalf of our CEO, Stacy Caldwell, I would like to thank you for joining us for tonight's Salon, Forest Resilience Community Resources. And I know that this is such an engaged community that everybody is wondering what resources are out there and how can you gain access to them and how do you differentiate between them. And we're going to have a great discussion about all the things that we all need to know. The Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation has been serving our community since 1998. And we connect people and opportunities and generate resources to build a more caring, creative, and effective community. So while attracting resources to our community is one of our primary areas of focus, without consistent strategy and leadership, money doesn't go anywhere. So we pride ourselves in connecting donors to the causes that they love and supporting nonprofits through grants and training and connecting community leaders to collaborate on strategy. And that ensures that our grant making and the resources that we attract to our region are aligned and effective. We're supported by an amazing board of directors who are passionate about this region and who represent a range of industries and who are all deeply embedded and engaged in the community. And I want to recognize Mike Rayfield, who is newly on our board, for joining us tonight. Nice to see you. Thank you, Mike. And our growing staff at the Community Foundation who work tirelessly to support our efforts. Thanks to Tamia and Therese for joining the rest of the team with us tonight. Thanks for your amazing support. The Community Foundation, well, community foundations are philanthropic organizations that are dedicated to improving the lives and environment of a particular area. And they play a key role in identifying and addressing the needs of their region and responding with resources and solutions. So beyond grant making and scholarships, the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation has identified 3 critical issues that are unique to our community, to which we give special attention. And those are family strengthening, workforce housing, and forest health. So each of these initiatives is supported by a group of stakeholders who work together to advise and collectively tackle the challenges we face. And these are challenges that require more than one agency or grant to solve. So over nearly 25 years of our being here in the community, we are proud to have developed not only trusted relationships, but also a great deal of capacity in the region. But now to our forests. The recent snowfall, as brief as it was, signaled that winter is on its way. And yet we are all now too profoundly aware that fire season has not yet ended. In fact, we know that fire season no longer truly has an end. It no longer truly has a season. It is something that we are now really living with year round. The summer once again brought devastating wildfire, with a mosquito fire burning nearly 77,000 acres and coming within 30 miles of Truckee. As partners in this effort, we know that as a community, we must continue to do all that we can to mitigate the risks, to do our part for not if, but when wildfire finally reaches us. Born after 4 years of deep learning alongside some of the foremost experts in the field, Forest Futures is a bold, entrepreneurial, and strategic model for how community foundations across the country can take a lead role in confronting the local impacts of climate change. There are 3 areas of impact that Forest Futures focuses on. The first is protect communities, reducing fuels, establishing fire breaks, making sure that key evacuation routes are clear, and supporting the development and use of technology to keep us informed. The second is to build a forest economy for our region, funding for workforce development, infrastructure, and industry to utilize hazardous forest wastes while strengthening the economy in our region, which we will learn more about throughout our Salon series and perhaps touch on a little bit tonight. And finally, accelerating market solutions, scaling the speeding forest management while creating a model that can be replicated in other global mountain communities. There we go, tongue twister. We are deploying flexible and nimble capital to fill needs and gaps, to accelerate projects, permits, and progress, with funds flowing into the community almost as quickly as we can raise them. We are proud to have raised $5.4 million to date, and to have released $2 million of that into the community for critical fuels reduction projects and support for workforce development programs, as we protect our community and we build a forest economy for our region. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce Nicole Lutkemuller, Forest Futures Director, and Anne Graham, Forest Futures Coordinator. Take it away.
Thanks, Kate. So today we're going to present a few different programs to everyone that cover different parts of the North Tahoe and Truckee region, and provide different resources and programs that private landowners and property owners can access for support with fuel reduction, forest health, and defensible space work. So to start off, myself and Anne Graham, our Forest Futures Coordinator, are going to give you all an overview of our new Truckee North Tahoe Forest Management Program. This is the program that we have been mentioning for a few months. You might have heard us talk about it in previous presentations, and we're finally at a point where we can release a bit more detail about it, although we're still developing the program. And so we'll basically share what we know with you all at this point about the program. And then we'll turn it over to a few of our partners to give some information on their programs that also provide other types of resources, both financial and non-financial resources that can be accessed. So with that, the Truckee North Tahoe Forest Management Program is funded by CAL FIRE. It was a CAL FIRE block grant that the Community Foundation has been awarded. We were awarded that grant in July of this summer. And a block grant is a unique type of grant that is starting to be awarded in more programs across the state of California, where basically the agencies that are awarding these block grants are awarding, excuse me, large chunks of funding to organizations that have experience distributing funding and resources in a community, and allowing those local organizations to guide the distribution of funding into smaller distribution. So basically, we will be re-granting most of the funding received through this block grant, and we are tailoring the distribution of that funding to what's really needed in our region. And CAL FIRE is allowing us to tailor the program to what's needed here in the Truckee and Tahoe region. And it's a model that's, like I said, expanding across the state. There's more and more of these block grant programs popping up in different natural resources programs, and definitely in the forestry and wildfire space. So we were approached by Truckee Fire. They were actually the ones that made us aware of this opportunity last spring, and talked with them and talked with a lot of other partners in the region about the opportunity, and wanted to check with some other partners to see if anyone else was planning to apply for this block grant in our region to avoid any duplication or competition within our region. And once, you know, we realized that there wasn't anyone else pursuing this funding for our region, we decided to go ahead and submit a proposal, and then we were awarded about just under $2 million, $1.9 million was awarded by CAL FIRE to TTCF. And the other thing to note about this program is that it is a new grant program within CAL FIRE. So they're still calling it a pilot program. They've only given out funding under this Wildfire Resilience Block Grant Program in one other cycle, and that was in 2020. So there were 2 grants awarded in 2020, and there were 3 grants awarded for a total of $10 million most recently in 2022, of which we received just under $2 million. And so what that means is that CAL FIRE is looking to the grantees to a certain extent to give them feedback and to help shape what this program could look like in the future. There's they're really leaving it open to allowing us to shape the program to what's going to serve our region's needs best, with some minimum eligibility and minimum requirements on their end. And so we'll talk about what those basic requirements are, and then there might be additional eligibility or additional considerations that we make specific to our region. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anne Graham, who is our Forest Futures Coordinator and is leading the development of this program.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. As she just mentioned, my name is Anne Graham, and this CAL FIRE block grant is really exciting for me because it is funding part of my position and allowed me to actually come join the Community Foundation and its mission. So I'm really excited to get to play a role in building it out and developing it, and seeing how much of a benefit it will get to bring to our community. So getting into some of the more specifics of the program that we know now, as Nicole mentioned, a lot of the program will be developed over the coming months, and we'll be sharing that information out as we develop it and it becomes available. But right now we do know that we're calling it the Truckee North Tahoe Forest Management Program, TNTFMP. If you see that acronym used, that's what that's referring to. We love long acronyms. But we'll be having a competitive application process for the funds that we received through CAL FIRE. And what that means is that we'll have an application open up where landowners can apply. Those applications will be reviewed, and then grants will be awarded out to landowners to have funding, fully funded projects for either project implementation or to receive technical assistance. So to provide a little bit more context to what those two things mean, maybe some landowners are joining us today. Project implementation means that if you're a landowner who already has a project plan in place, it's something that we maybe call shovel ready, and you're just looking for funding to actually be able to have that project started and completed, that's what project implementation would mean. Technical assistance is maybe you're a landowner who isn't very familiar with some of the forestry lingo, but you're looking and really interested in having forest health work done or wildfire resilience work done on your property. Technical assistance would look like being connected with a registered professional forester or an RPF, more acronyms, to guide you through the process of having a project actually planned to then be implemented at a later time on your property. That would also involve going through any sort of environmental compliance process that's required because this is funded through the state. Broadly, the really exciting part about this funding, though, is that this program is designed to fully fund any sort of project planning or implementation that happens on these pieces of property. So we, at this time, are not expecting any cost match from landowners. And so we're really hoping that it can be really useful to landowners who might have any sort of cost barriers to being able to do this really important work, knowing that wildfire doesn't know any boundaries, and all of our land in our region is going to be really critical to being resilient to wildfire. To get into kind of our program timeline in the first year here, we will have the program over the next 3 years is what it's kind of currently funded for. But just to give you a little scope into what we are looking at timeline wise right now. In the fall of 2022 into winter 2023, we on our back end, our program staff, so Nicole and myself, are convening a steering committee, which is comprised of various forestry experts in our region. So folks from the various fire districts, folks from some state agencies from the various counties in our region to help inform some of the guidelines, develop what the application will actually look like, and how those applications will be reviewed and prioritized. I will be working to develop a lot of the outreach materials and content to be able to share information with landowners and any sort of contractors, arborists, professionals, registered professional foresters who would actually be helping us implement any sort of work done on properties in our region. Then in spring, we're hoping to open that first round application and host a workshop where landowners will be talked through the application process and to provide guidance in that process and understanding, what information is required for them to actually qualify for the program. Then in spring, we would also plan to close the application period, review any applications that came in, and make awards out so that in summer and fall of next year, we can see that project implementation or that technical assistance work on the ground and going. Then coming back in fall and winter, our steering committee and our program staff would come back together and make any sort of adjustments to then repeat that cycle with an application opening up again in spring of 2024 to go through the same kind of project life cycle. And then potentially a third round of funding if there is still funding available in 2025. Our kind of larger scale goals, just to provide a little bit of context, through this program, we're hoping to treat 450 acres of private land. And that has been calculated based on kind of contractor rates, registered professional forester rates to actually get the work done on properties. So that's a very kind of calculated number. Given the markets of things right now, that may fluctuate, but that's kind of our targeted goal right now. We're also hoping to reach 150 landowners. That does not mean that 150 landowners will get grants through the program, but through events such as this one, we hope to be able to connect landowners with other resources in our region and other programs in our region if they are not able to receive funds or may not be eligible to receive funds through this program. And I'm going to get into eligibility here in just a second. Really our kind of main goal of bringing this program and developing this program in our region is that it can complement other work that's already being done in our region. We hear a lot about the various community wildfire protection plans or kind of land use assessments with new technology, like some of you may be familiar with land tender. We really hope to be able to bring the perspectives of people in our community, those forestry experts that are sitting on our steering committee, and the knowledge that they have of the work being done in our region already, so that we can disperse funds in a way that's going to actually help broaden the wildfire resilience of our region through this Truckee North Tahoe Forest Management Program. Getting into, if you're a landowner, I'm sure you want to know about the eligibility of the program and the requirements. As Nicole mentioned in kind of her overview of the program, CAL FIRE is giving us a lot of flexibility in how we build out this program, but they do have some kind of strict guidelines that landowners do have to fit into to qualify. So the strict guidelines are that it must be on private, non-industrial forest land, and forest land is defined as having 10% or more of forested cover on that property. Properties must be at least 3 acres and cannot exceed 5,000 acres. And that the property must fall within the program boundary. And the map here on the right side of the slide defines what that program boundary is. It's parts of eastern Placer, eastern Nevada, southeastern Sierra County, and then eastern El Dorado County north of Emerald Bay. And it's roughly the TTUSD boundary, but a little bit larger. So those are kind of the strict eligibility requirements. We definitely know properties cannot be smaller than 3 acres. Part of the conversation that will be up to our steering committee will be whether we want to decrease what the maximum size of properties could be in terms of environmental compliance processes. The acreage size of properties can actually affect what kind of environmental compliance process is required. So that may be something that is updated. I just want to make a note of that. But kind of the minimum requirement right now is 3,000 to 5,000 acres in size. So much more information will come together over the coming months, and we're excited to be able to share that out as it comes together with the steering committee and with our program staff. So if you are interested in receiving more information, whether it be you're a landowner who is eligible, whether you're a contractor or an RPF or another forestry specialist that would qualify to do work through this program, if you can actually fill out the form in this link, and I'll drop it in the chat as well. We're just going to consolidate everyone's contact information in one form so that on the chance that it gets lost in my email, you don't miss information that's really critical to the program. But if you do have any specific questions, as Nicole mentioned, I am the program lead on this. So please feel free to reach out to me with any specific questions you may have. My email is there on the slide. But for kind of general program updates, I'll drop that link in the chat so you all can fill out the information in that form, whether you're a landowner or just wanting to get updates on the program and be in touch with things that are going on in our region. But I'm going to turn it back over to Nicole now so she can introduce our other speakers on the evening, and then I will be happy to take any questions during the Q&A session. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Anne. And it seems like everyone picked up on it, but I forgot to mention before we started to please place your questions in the chat. And we're going to hold off on answering questions until after all the presentations. So we have staff monitoring the chat and recording all of the questions, and we'll address them during the Q&A session at the end. So with that, I'm going to turn it right on over to our next presenter, which is Dillon Sheedy from the Truckee Fire Protection District. And Dillon is a registered professional forester, and he is working on the wildfire resilience and Measure T programs for Truckee Fire. So go ahead, Dillon.
Thanks, Nicole. Everyone hear me all right? Awesome. Yeah, it's great to be here tonight. My name is Dillon Sheedy. I'm the registered professional forester and assistant wildfire prevention manager for the Truckee Fire Protection District. Super happy to be here to talk about forest management opportunities for local landowners. And it's a good time for you all to meet one of your local foresters. We have many strong foresters in the area, and we're really focusing our efforts on fuel reduction and community wildfire resilience. I just want to give a quick kudos to TTCF, for organizing these Forest Futures salons, and just what a great forum to get good information to our community members. And also the CAL FIRE block grant is a big deal, and it's going to be a well-used program in our area. So great job on all that. So I'm here tonight to talk about opportunities available kind of specifically to residents within the Truckee Fire Protection District. I know there's quite a few people here in the Tahoe area. Our district runs from Highway 20 interchange with 80 to, follows the 80 corridor all the way to Floreston, and encompasses about 125 square miles. Recently, our taxpayers local to the district passed Measure T, and we're kind of in what we're calling year 0 of Measure T. We'll receive full funding in 2023. And in year 0, we've been hyper focused on defensible space inspections and green waste solutions. Those of us in the Truckee Fire Protection District can schedule a free inspection with one of our defensible space specialists, and then also utilize our free green waste disposal programs. We will run these programs every year from May to October, and it's a great avenue to get rid of the green waste produced from implementing defensible space work. So really, like I mentioned, we're trying to roll this program out, and we're going to be developing multiple programs this winter that'll be available to Truckee Fire Protection District residents. So this winter we'll be developing programs such as dead tree assistance programs, defensible space assistance programs, and most important to probably this group here tonight is our Measure T community grant. So we did fund about 4 projects this year through this grant, covering about 170 acres. And we will be soliciting proposals this winter for residents, HOAs, land managers, RPFs, LTOs, any of those folks to submit a proposal to us that will be considered and funded through Measure T. And you'll be working closely with the team at Truckee Fire, which includes me and Eric Hornvet, who is the wildfire prevention manager. And I'm happy to answer more questions about this as we kind of more develop it. But it will be available this winter, and we'll be looking to fund projects for implementation in 2023. So other programs, we'll continue to roll those out and make those available and advertise those online. Any help or assistance needed, I'm happy to do a site visit and talk with folks and talk up forestry and fuels management. And so I'll drop my contact info in the chat, and I'm happy to continue the conversation. Again, most of this Measure T stuff is specific to the Truckee Fire Protection District. However, we recognize, the regional issues we face, and we'll continue to work with our partner agencies and support their efforts as well. Whether that's chasing additional grants through CAL FIRE, supporting their efforts, and continuing to bring money to the area to implement this important forest and fuels reduction work, really with the mind of, community wildfire protection and community wildfire resilience. So thanks for having me tonight. I'll drop my contact info in the chat, and I look forward to meeting and talking more with you all.
Thanks so much, Dillon. And just to note, when we send up the follow-up email after the salon, we'll have a recording that we'll send out if anyone wants to rewatch it, or for people who weren't able to actually join live tonight. And then we will also send out links, the link to sign up to the contact list that Anne shared for the TNT Forest Management Program, and then contact information for our speakers and their websites as well. But without further delay, we're going to move right into our next speaker, and that is Allison Erny from the Placer Resource Conservation District. And Allison is also a registered professional forester working with Placer RCD and their forestry program manager.
Thanks, Nicole. Hi, good evening, everyone. As Nicole said, I'm Allison with the Placer RCD. We're a special district, and we provide landowner technical assistance in Placer County outside of the Tahoe Basin. So Tahoe RCD serves within the Tahoe Basin. So I'll just provide a quick overview of some of the programs we offer. We have our chipper program, which is a subsidized chipping program serving Placer County. They offer chipping at $80 an hour within 1 hour minimum. And you can sign up for the chipper program on our website. We have an online sign up form, and wait times are about a week. So if you stage your material and sign up for our program, you should be able to get your material chipped on site within a week of requesting. We also work closely with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is part of the USDA federal government, and we provide technical assistance to forest landowners who are hoping to implement forest health treatments on their property. So that can include mastication, pruning, planting, handwork, and other forest health treatments. So if you contact us at the RCD, we can provide a free site visit with a forester, provide technical assistance on forest health work, and connect you with NRCS to apply for cost share to treat some of your property. And with sort of couched within that NRCS program is our Regional Conservation Partnership Program, or RCPP, which was designed to provide assistance to people who are dealing with tree mortality issues as a result of drought and bark beetle. So if you have dead conifers on your property, we can also provide technical assistance on best management practices for dealing with beetle, and potentially connect you with financial assistance through NRCS to do tree removal and other treatments. And the last program I'll just mention is run by my coworker, Cordy Craig. It's our prescribed burn program. So through this program, we offer technical support for landowners, private landowners who are interested in implementing prescribed fire on their property. So you can have an RCD employee out for a site visit to talk about prescribed fire. We are developing a field guide on prescribed fire for, to provide technical assistance to landowners. The RCD is also offering regular workshops on prescribed fire that are targeted towards private landowners, teaching private landowners how to implement safe, legal, and ecologically responsible prescribed fire on their property, which includes prep work, what supplies you might need, and information on liability and California law regarding prescribed fire. The RCD is also the lead for the Placer County Prescribed Burn Association. So RCD is also coordinating that effort, trying to assemble folks within the county who can sort of pool resources and labor to implement prescribed fire. And one thing we are also looking into is a gear library that will be available for landowners at no cost, including tools that could be useful for implementing prescribed fire on their property. So if you're interested in the PBA, I will put my coworker's email, the Prescribed Burn Association, I'll put my coworker's email in the chat. And I'll put my email in there as well if you have questions on forest health issues in Placer County outside of the basin.
Thanks so much, Allison. And we're going to roll right into our final speaker, and that is Billy Spearing from the Fire Safe Council of Nevada County. And Billy is the administrative analyst with the Fire Safe Council.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm driving, so I won't be able to present slides. So really quickly, the Fire Safe Council of Nevada County is a standalone registered 501c3 nonprofit. We're local to Nevada County. We're dedicated to making Nevada County a safer place to live and prepare our residents for life with wildfire. We do that with fire safety projects and public education. Our fire safety consists of fuels reduction projects on a large scale. We were part of the Ponderosa West project. We've also headed up the Western Nevada County Community Defense Project. We have roadside residential chipping program. That's probably our most popular, longest standing program that's been running for 23 years now. We provide low-cost defensible space clearing services for folks who are unable to pay the rising cost for private contractors. We promote and coordinate green waste disposal events. We also have the green reflective address signs. We do make those in-house with volunteers, so we don't ship them, but we coordinate delivery to Truckee whenever we have Truckee office hours, which we get to do thanks to Truckee Fire. Thank you very much for that. We also offer education and outreach materials. We have lots of material available if people are needing handout items. And just let us know. We are the Firewise USA coordinator for our area. Pat might be unhappy if I get this number wrong, but I believe at the moment we have 83 recognized Firewise communities in Nevada County. We also stepped in to help our neighbors in Southern Sierra County, and we're coordinator for 2 of their Firewise communities. And we have some collaboration coming up with Placer County RCD for Placer County Firewise communities in the Truckee area. We train volunteers to become defensible space advisors if it's something that they're interested in. We work with our local partners, our government inspectors from the county and CAL FIRE, and now we're developing our classes in Truckee. So we'll be leaning on Dillon and Eric for some advice there. If anyone is interested in becoming a defensible space advisor, let us know. We're trying to put together a class here at the end of the year. We also provide speakers if you're holding a public community event. We have a list of speakers who can attend and help you speak on different topics, whether it's forestry, defensible space, wildfire behavior. We have a list of volunteers. We have our membership program. We do grant projects. We're constantly applying for grants. I'm sorry, my ears are really not popping as we're driving through the mountains. So I hope I'm not yelling at you guys. So the Defensible Space Advisor Program is interesting. A lot of folks are familiar with what's happening in Truckee Fire. They'll come out and do a visit with you and walk around your property. We do that as well. There are a handful of folks who are averse to having a government entity walk around with them. They're just a little afraid to go there. I know Truckee has been really friendly and they're not trying to cite or fine people, but if you run into a resident who is a little afraid to work with a government entity, we can happily coordinate a volunteer to come out with some friendly advice, just for those folks who are a little too worried about working with.
I think we might be losing you, Billy. I think, unfortunately, Billy is doing the best she can while driving. She stepped in at the last moment to cover for her colleague who was sick today and was originally supposed to present. But we appreciate appreciate your time, Billy. And if you get to a point with better service and you want to add some more detail, feel free to speak up during the Q&A session. Thank you for joining us, though. So with that, I think we will transition into the Q&A session. I did put the website for the Fire Safe Council of Nevada County into the chat so that you can look up more information on the programs that Billy was speaking to, and we can share out contact information for the Fire Safe Council of Nevada County. And just note that they do work across all of Nevada County, so they do cover the Truckee region and portion of Nevada County. And we were hoping to have Tahoe RCD speak to programs within the Tahoe Basin today. They were unable to join. And you can also find more information on what they offer on their website. So with that, we'll move into the Q&A session. And we did get quite a few questions that were coming in. And I think I'm going to start with one from Jan addressing the CAL FIRE program. And I think this is a good question and one that we've thought a lot about with the development of the Truckee North Tahoe Forest Management Program. And Jan asked if there's a strategy to make the forest health and fire resilience benefits more than just the sum of the acres treated in the program, and gave an example of focusing on critical areas that are contingent with shaded fuel breaks or other considerations. So I'll speak to that one and just say that our intention with the program and part of what will influence how we decide to distribute the funding through the program will be by getting guidance from our steering committee members, which are local partners, and incorporating priorities from existing planning efforts in the region. So part of the main goal of forming a steering committee with members of our local fire districts, counties, and other relevant forestry and fire organizations was so that we could get their input on what their existing priorities are, if there are existing plans for areas that need to be treated, and we can actually use that information that our steering committee members and that the existing plans, such as community wildfire protection plans, can inform where the priority areas are to fund within this program. So we don't want to just be giving the funding out, without thinking about the geographic impact and the collective impact of not only what the CAL FIRE funding can do, but how that funding affects or can build upon efforts that already exist. So it is very much our intention to use existing plans, existing projects that are occurring, and to really be thoughtful and deliberate in where projects are being funded with this program. Jan, did you have any follow-up to that question before I move on?
No, thank you so much. It's great to know that you guys are taking that all into account. Thank you. Yeah, and there's an existing community wildfire protection plan in the Tahoe Basin, and Truckee Fire is updating their plan right now, and I believe our two counties might be in the process or soon working on updating theirs as well. And there's also the Middle Truckee Watershed Forest Health Partnership, which is a large planning effort. So those are just some examples of the plans that we'll be considering in how we distribute this funding. Dillon, did you want to add anything?
Oh, just real quick. I mean, I just want people to know that there is always a strategy and a plan. Like we definitely have to prioritize. When we identify projects as to what's the greatest return on investment. And that's really where Nicole mentioned the community wildfire protection plans, what we call a CWPP. And we are in the process of updating ours in the Truckee area, and there will be multiple stakeholder workshops as well as community workshops. And really it's a chance for us to, find these projects where they align for, our priorities as a fire district and our partners, and where they align with the community is kind of like where we prioritize our projects, but always with the mind of contiguous projects, building on past accomplishments. That's always what we're working towards as land managers.
Thanks, Dillon. All right, I'm going to run through some of the questions that came in earlier. So Amy Kelly asked 2 questions that we'll address real quick. One is, will applicants be able to apply for both technical assistance and implementation dollars? And the answer is yes. Generally, you would probably apply for technical assistance, not probably, you would definitely have to apply for technical assistance first and have your project planned, and then apply for project implementation dollars. We may consider allowing kind of a combination application. That's still to be determined as we flesh out the program guidelines with the steering committee. But overall, the answer is yes, you could access both types of resources. And then Amy asked for a definition of non-industrial private land, as CAL FIRE states it. And basically there we're looking to, this funding is not intended to be used on commercial timberlands, so lands that exist for the purpose of, you know, selling logs, selling timber, that those, even though those are private lands, that type of land would not qualify for funding under this program. Any follow-up there, Amy?
Thanks so much, Nicole. So appreciate your response. I think the only clarification then is local businesses. It sounds like as long as they don't need a timber operate, like anything related to timber sales, right? But local businesses could apply.
Yes. So like if you're a business that happens to own land, that's okay. Yes. It's just that you don't own the land for the purpose of profiting off of cutting trees down. Yeah.
Got it. Super helpful. Yeah. Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to a question about, I'm going to let Anne answer this one from Sean Turner. How can we register as a qualified contractor or arborist for the defensible space work?
So in terms of registering, or there's no formal registration process. If you have other certifications or qualifications or training, or are already doing this work in our region, the main thing that we need, obviously, if you're an RPF, that's a certification and that you hold and a training process that you go through. But in other realms, we just need to know that you are willing to do work in our region and are qualified to do work in our region. So that is that contact form that I shared in the chat, just ensuring that you communicate with us that you are willing to do work in our region and are ready and have the capacity to do that is pretty much what I meant when I said qualified or registered to do that.
Thanks, Anne. And the next question from earlier on was, what assistance will be provided for the application process? And I'll just quickly address that one. So we are, as Anne mentioned, going to put on a webinar before the application opens that will go through the application, what the questions are, how to apply, if there's supporting documentation required. So we will have that opportunity. And then, you know, beyond that, our program staff would be available to answer questions as you're filling out the application. But the big thing will actually be the workshop that we put on before the application opens. And then I would say that, you know, we also intend to have the program guidelines and eligibility finalized well before the application opens so that people can review those and understand what they need to be thinking about in their application. If you have ideas early on and you're wondering if your idea would qualify, feel free to reach out to us as well. Let's move into, oh, and then sorry, there was a follow-up question as well there. How to address property area that falls within both Placer and Nevada counties. I'm guessing that that question is referring to probably the distinction between Nevada Fire Safe Council, Nevada County Fire Safe Council and Placer RCD services. I think you'd have to talk to them, those organizations, to figure out how that would work with the CAL FIRE program, with the Truckee North Tahoe Forest Management Program. It wouldn't matter for us necessarily that your property straddles the county lines, as long as you're within our larger program boundary. There may be considerations with the environmental compliance that have to be made for the project work, but that would be handled with the assistance through technical assistance with a registered professional forester. And then in terms of whether you qualify for programs under Placer RCD or Nevada County Fire Safe Council, I don't know, Allison, if you've faced that before or have anything you want to add, but I would say it would be up to the organizations there to decide.
I have not faced that, but I'm sure it's happened before, and we could work it out with the NRCS office. There's one office that serves Placer County and one that serves Nevada, and they work closely together.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. There was a question about lands that are, or rights of way that are owned by Placer County on the West Shore that have a lot of dead trees on them. The question is, what is the county's duty to mitigate these dangerous trees, and can the program assist? So from the CAL FIRE program, I can say that county lands would not be eligible because they are not private, they're public lands. So that funding could not be used for treatment on those county lands. And then I would say that your best bet would be to reach out to the county directly and see what the options are with them specifically. Let's see, moving into, is an HOA eligible for the Truckee North Tahoe Forest Management Program resources? The answer would be yes, as long as the HOA owns and manages a property that is at least 3 acres in size. So if you have a common area property that is 3 acres or larger, then yes, you would be eligible and could apply. You know, HOAs are their own entities, so the HOA could apply themselves. And then there was a question that it wasn't as much of a question as a statement, but Christy Morgan, do you want to speak to what you typed in about your HOA being concerned that the work may be in conflict with your bylaws and rules? Was there something specific you were hoping for us to speak to there?
Yeah, maybe if you could give me a name of somebody that I could talk to, so that our HOA manager could address her concerns.
Yeah, that if you're referring to whether or not you could apply for the CAL FIRE funding, that would be either Ann, you could reach out to Ann or myself, and we could have that discussion.
Yeah, I think it would be more along the lines of individual like lots within our HOA and the work to be done that we would ask as an HOA or recommend to be done. I think those were her concerns, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Or just give me a name for her to, you know, to call so that she can address her questions.
Yeah, you can reach out to myself or Ann, depending on where. I don't know exactly where your HOA is located, but you could also reach out to your local fire district if these are smaller size properties. The fire districts themselves might be able to assist, but definitely feel free to reach out to me or Ann, and we can help you from there depending on where you're located, and either we'll have the answer or can direct you to the right answer.
Great, thanks.
There was a question from Alex Cheney that says, my community had a defensible space inspection performed by Truckee Fire District. As expected, we have a corrections checklist of action required items. Many of these items are outside our community's budget and volunteer abilities. What are the next steps we should take to hopefully take advantage of funds that may be available to our community? Dillon, do you want to chime in first on this one since it's within your district? And then if it's something that would qualify under CAL FIRE, I can speak to it, but I think that one goes to Dillon.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. You know, a couple things, Alex. One, you know, try to organize as many community work days as you can and utilize our green waste disposal programs. We offer free pickup and disposal or chipping of the material. We also offer $75 rebates for green waste dumpsters from the Eastern Regional Landfill. And so I think we can support a lot of your, you know, maybe smaller projects in your HOA that volunteers or your community can get done. And then in terms of the bigger, maybe more expensive stuff, we will have, as mentioned, we're working on developing a home hardening rebate program, which will include, vent screens and, other resilient building material that we hope to cut the cost down on some of those retrofits through that program. And we'll also, be developing a defensible space assistance program. It might be more tailored towards low income or elderly, disabled residents who can't actually get the work done. But I think we continue to reach out to us. Let's talk through it. And Eric and I definitely have a lot of ideas on how to support getting this work done. And we recognize that it costs a lot of money, and we're working on, administering programs to help with that type of work.
Thanks, Dillon. I'm not seeing any other questions. Does anyone else have anything they want to address? You can unmute yourself at this point. We don't have any other questions in the chat. I'll give everyone a couple minutes before I hand it back over to Kate if we don't see any to wrap us up.
I have a question.
Go for it.
Yeah, the question is the eligible landowner, Truckee residents. A couple times it was talked about Truckee residents. Our family owns property in Truckee boundaries that would be eligible from what I heard today, but we don't live there. We live in the San Francisco Bay Area. So is that quote eligible because you had to be a resident of Truckee is the way I heard the presentation?
I can answer that, Nicole. If you own property within our fire district, you are eligible for any of our programs. You do not have to live here full time. So if you're going to be paying the same parcel tax that the rest of the residents are, and so you are included if you own property within our district. And if you have questions of where our district lines are, I can try to clarify that for you offline and see where your property's at. But if it's within the Truckee city limits or Donner Summit area, it's likely that you're within our district and you would be eligible for any of our programs.
Yeah, we're definitely within the district. You might just, by the way, for future reference, not call residents then in that case. It's property owners. You defined it beautifully right now, but that wasn't clear from the presentation, just so maybe there's some other property owners who don't happen to be a resident in the sense of a full-time, home kind of thing. Any rate, thank you very much for the clarification. The program seems quite interesting, and my wife and I have reached an age where our two children have to pick up on this, and we'll see. I wanted to participate. We'll see if they pick up the ball and run with it, but they should. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, sorry for the confusing word choice there. I'll work on that one.
No problem. Thanks.
And just to clarify on that, for the Truckee North Tahoe Forest Management Program, that also applies to property owners, not full-time residents, or part of the residency is not defined in that at all. It's the land ownership. So thank you for your question, Bill.
Thank you.
I have a question for Dillon. This is Tom Kolzicki. You described that you were already funding projects. Can you provide a brief description of what those projects entails, as scope or financial?
Yeah, absolutely. So we funded 4 different projects this year. That included about 170 acres of treatment. So we worked with Gray's Crossing. So you may have seen, if you're living in Truckee, the area between the Gray's Crossing development and Prosser Lakeview, that kind of hill slope there. We did a fuel reduction project there, and all these projects are the same. I'll start with that. They're mostly the same. It's fuel reduction, tree density reduction, and we're trying to create separation and more healthy forest. And so Gray's Crossing was one of them. They did about 40 acres. We also funded a Sugar Bowl project within their neighborhoods there. It's about a 35-acre project. And then we also funded a project on Tahoe Donner, which would be basically the south of Ski Slope Way, on the slope that you see as you're looking up from Tahoe Donner there. We're putting in a fuel break there. And then the last one would be the Truckee Donner Land Trust, excuse me. And we helped fund, roughly about 10 acres of riparian fuel reduction treatments. And so all 4 projects are in implementation. We expect to have them completed by the end of the month, with the exception of Tahoe Donner is probably going to go into next season as well. And again, we're looking at manual and mechanical fuel reduction. So mastication, hand felling and mechanical felling of trees, small diameter trees. And again, we're just trying to improve forest health and fire resilience and increase, community protection. They're all strategically placed projects that, have an emphasis on community protection.
And total funds spent?
Roughly $500,000.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions outstanding at this point? All right, so I'm going to hand it back over to Kate to wrap us up. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Dillon. Thank you, Billy, Allison, and of course, Nicole and Anne. And we're really grateful for your time and for everything that everyone is doing. It takes a community, and it's wonderful to see the community working together and also coming here and gathering with us and being able to really interact and ask your questions. And we're really grateful again for your time. So thank you for joining us. We do have some more upcoming community education presentations that I just want to sort of raise to your awareness. If you're interested in housing, we have our Mountain Housing Council speaker series, Family Strengthening, our community collaborative of Truckee Tahoe. And of course, because we're heading into the end of the year, please don't forget about our Give Back Tahoe opportunities where you can give back to local nonprofits and help them qualify for some challenge grants that help them at their end of year fundraising. We are going to have a feedback survey that's linked in the chat. You'll receive an email in the coming days with a link to tonight's recording, which will also be available on the TTCF website and also our YouTube channel. I hope you'll want to learn more about Forest Futures, and to do that, you can go to our website or reach out to us directly, and perhaps consider supporting these efforts with your year-end philanthropy. It's my job, I have to say it. And we do hope that you'll continue to engage with us. We do invite you to our next Forest Futures Salon, which will be on November 17th. We are going to be addressing a recap of the 2022 fire season and learnings from the mosquito fire. So we really hope that you will join us for that. Every time there is a massive fire like the mosquito fire or last year's Caldor and Dixie fires, we learn a great deal, and it informs firefighting and fuels reduction and forest mitigation, wildfire mitigation efforts for the coming year. So please join us for that. Thank you very much. See you again soon and have a good night.